Hi everyone, good morning. This is Meteorologist Melanie Layden here, and I'm coming to you from my home today, hosting our weather school. It's 11 o'clock right now, so we do this every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and we host a different weather lesson of the day. And today's lesson, we're talking about snow, and it's a beautiful sunny day outside, so not really kind of correlating with the weather today, but we've already had all kinds of topics that we've talked about, like hurricanes, rainbows, how lightning forms, and so I thought today would be a fun day to talk about snow and snowstorms, because especially this year, we really didn't see too much. So we're going to talk a little bit about how snow forms. We're going to talk about winter storms and one of the last pretty big ones that we had here in the Tennessee area. And then we'll talk about how snowflakes form as well and the difference between sleet, rain, freezing rain, and snow. So I hope you enjoyed today's weather lesson. If you have comments, any kids have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section and I'll try to answer those as best as I can. All right, so let's get started. First, we're going to talk about winter storms. Yeah, we don't really see too many of these, do we? We don't see that sight too often here in Middle Tennessee. But today we're talking about winter storms and snow. And it's been a couple of years since we had a really good snowfall throughout Tennessee. So we're going to talk about one of the last couple of ones we've had here in our area. And we're going to talk about how snowflakes form, winter storms form, and the characteristics of snowflakes. So this is a lesson that's really great for all ages today. So first, I want to talk to you about a couple of basics. This is going to be the difference between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. So you probably hear meteorologists talk about that on TV. Sometimes we will talk about maybe the difference between maybe a wintry mix kind of day. And if you live particularly along the Cumberland Plateau, you probably hear that term a lot. So let's start off with rain. So we have rain a lot. Plain old rain is just pretty much just the rain that's coming down with the warm air. Even if it's just cold enough for some rain to start falling and for some snow to start falling, it's actually going to come down in the atmosphere where we live as just rain because the air is just too warm to hold on to any frozen precipitation. So snow falls into the warm air and it actually just melts as rain. But then we have freezing rain. This is some frozen precipitation. It still melts in that warm air, but it falls and it freezes on cold surfaces. So this happens a lot during the overnight hours on roadways. So if you wake up early in the morning and you turn on News 4 Today and you hear the meteorologist or the traffic anchor talking about slick roads, it could be because of some freezing rain out there because there haven't been a lot of cars on the roadway to help warm up the surface. And so that causes that freezing rain to stick and really become pretty slick. So it actually freezes when it hits something, and it also sticks to maybe your car window. It's not exactly snow, but it looks like some ice pellets. That's exactly what's happening there. Then we have sleet, and this is kind of a cool one. This is where the air is just not warm enough to really hold on to the snow. The snow is actually melting and then refreezing into sleet as it travels through the cold air. So you can see there in this kind of diagram, the warm air is pretty, it's kind of disintegrating, as you can see here. So this is when the temperature is actually cold enough here on the ground that we can see some sleet falling, and frozen precipitation melts in the shallow warm air and then refreezes into sleet before it reaches the surface. So you probably hear meteorologists talk about the difference here a lot between freezing rain and sleet. And then we've got snow, which is what I know a lot of kids are hoping for in the winter time because you typically get out of school, but here in Tennessee, you also get out of school with sleet and sometimes maybe some freezing rain. But both of those can do just as much damage on the roadways because they're pretty slick here. And in Tennessee, we live in a state where it's just too warm most of the year to really put a lot of money and resources into things like brine for the roads and having a lot of salt on hand for more than I'd say maybe a couple of weather events related to snow. So that's why you see a lot of schools and businesses cancel even when there's things like sleet out there because it can be just as dangerous. All right, so snow. This is what all the kids are hoping for during the winter. Snow falls through cold air and reaches the surface. So as you can see here in this diagram, there's really no warm air to get in the way of snow. And the snow is actually falling into that cold air. It never melts on the way down, and it kind of piles up there on the ground as snow. So that's the difference. I know that can be kind of confusing. I see some comments here in our Facebook Live about how they can be confusing, the difference between them. And we talk about them a lot, but especially here in the South, we don't see this a whole lot. In fact, I think we actually see more freezing rain and sleet than we do of snow typically, just because it doesn't get quite that cold here. All right, let's talk about this. This is a fun one. The characteristics of snowflakes and how snow is formed. So snow is commonly formed when we have water vapor, and that undergoes kind of a deposition is what we call it, which is when water vapor changes directly into ice without first becoming a liquid. So we got that high up in the atmosphere. It's going to be at a temperature that's at freezing. And you know, freezing is 32 degrees. So that snow to come down has to be at that 32 degree mark. That's that magic number. So when we talk about a freeze warning or any kind of freezing conditions, that's what we mean. That's how snow can be formed. But also it can be formed with that sleet and freezing rain that we're talking about too. It just melts on the way down because the air that we feel on the ground is just too warm. So I'm going to put this down for just a quick second. I'm going through some notes here that I've written out for you. So let's talk about snowflakes here. You can see a little picture of these. And notice how all of these pictures of snowflakes all have 6 points to them. That's because you probably have seen all kinds of different shapes and depictions here of snowflakes in your life. Maybe you've made them before out of paper, where you fold paper and you kind of cut out a design. You can make a fun one for your classroom or at home. But all snowflakes always have 6 sides. I think that's pretty cool, as all different as they look, because they're formed out of ice crystals. But one thing they all have in common is that they have those 6 points to them. And they're all going to be made up of ice crystals, but some of them can have upwards of 200 ice crystals. So they're all going to be very unique. That's why when you see pictures of snowflakes, they all kind of look like this. They all look very different. But they're all made of ice crystals, and they're actually formed, you know, when it's below freezing, but these crystals form around little pieces of dirt that are up in the atmosphere, believe it or not. That's because it kind of gets up into the atmosphere, and those ice crystals need something to hold on to, and we're talking tiny little specks of dirt. So really anything that these ice crystals can kind of hold on to, that's what forms a snowflake. So when you look at it under a microscope, it looks really pretty like this, but when we see it falling, it just looks like a plain old white dot. So that's a pretty cool characteristic of snowflakes. And as the snow crystal grows in the sky as it's falling down, it gets heavy. And so that's what causes it to come and fall right on the ground and then pile up into inches of snow. And I had one question. One time I did a segment on snow and blizzards and winter storms, and a kid asked me why snow is white. I thought that was a really cool question, and it actually has to do with the ice crystals and the sun shining through it. And even at night, any kind of light that passes through ice crystals actually forms that white color. So it's actually coming down clear, but the human eye sees it as white. And so that's how you get a picture of snow that looks like this when you look outside. So I thought that was pretty cool. And we've also had questions before about thunder snow. That was something that we heard a couple of years ago, first off on the Weather Channel. And that actually is something that is true. And it's become quite a common term now when you talk about places that get a lot of blizzards and a lot of heavy snowstorms. Thunder snow is when thunder and lightning occur during a snowstorm. So basically you would take a general old thunderstorm, and it's going to be just cold enough to have the snow coming down, and you still get that thunder and lightning. So that's kind of cool to see. It's very rare to see, but it actually occurs most often in late winter and early spring. And to get that thunder snow, you got to have that cold air on top of warm air, which is how a thunderstorm forms, plus moist air closer to the ground. So it starts off kind of like just a general summertime thunderstorm, and then the sun heats it up, and that's what causes that kind of instability there to cause a thunderstorm, a thunder snowstorm. So that's pretty cool. And so one of the last big snowstorms that we had here in Middle Tennessee that I can recall, I looked up a few minutes ago before I started this Facebook Live. It was actually out in the Cumberland Plateau area. Everyone saw some snow. This was back in February 2015. But I remember particularly one portion of Middle Tennessee that saw it the worst was the Cumberland Plateau. And they didn't just get snow, they got a lot of ice that fell down too. And it caused, I think, about 1 inch of ice formed, and that caused a lot of power lines to fall down. It stuck to a lot of power poles. It caused so much damage. A lot of people without power for a long time. And I think the National Weather Service said that this was one of the worst weather events in the Cumberland Plateau history. So that was really interesting that, you know, here in Tennessee, what is so common as far as weather events are actually tornadoes. But one of the worst weather events to date was actually an ice storm back in February 2015. So that was pretty cool. All right, so we talked about the difference between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow, and how snowflakes form. We also talked about how snow gets its color of being white, and we talked about thunder snow. So we've had a lot of people tuning in here on this lesson. I know that snow is not really something that we talk about a lot here right now in the springtime. Everyone's looking forward to the sunshine and the 70-degree weather we're having today. So I hope you were able to get out and enjoy that today. Get out and play in the sunshine. I know a lot of us have been kind of cooped up at home lately and we've been stuck inside, but if you can get outside and enjoy the sunshine today, it would be a great day to do so. So I hope you enjoyed your lesson on winter storms and snow today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them there in the comment section and we can get back to you on Facebook. We also post all of our lessons on our News 4 app and WSMB.com. So feel free to check out our past lessons on there. We've had so many good ones. Myself, Dan Thomas, Laura Bannon, Lisa Spencer, and Cody Murphy, the whole Forewarn Weather team does one of these lessons every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. So if you like today's lesson, please tune in tomorrow at 11. We'll have another one on a different topic, and it's something really fun for you and your kids to learn. I've had a lot of adults reach out and tell me they've learned something new as well. So just a little something to help you while you're in quarantine, and we hope to see you on air on News 4 at noon today, and we'll update you on the weather that's to come. No snow in the forecast, but we do have some rain that's coming up in the next couple of days, and we also have a big spike in our temperatures by this weekend. So be sure to tune into the forecast today and check it out, and be sure to find and follow us on social media and on the News 4 app. Hope you have a great day, stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 11.